Namaste. Hi. Thank you all for joining. My goal here tonight is to help empower women to be more in tune with your bodies and to recognize subtle imbalances so that they can be handled quickly and easily before they manifest into something larger. As women, we have a very special intuitive gift, and when we open ourselves to trust and use this gift, we can heal ourselves and others. The key is the ability to listen and to feel. We must be vulnerable within ourselves to be true to ourselves and not hide behind a wall of defense. Oftentimes, we as women overlook ourselves and what we truly need because we put others first. Tonight, if there's one single takeaway, I hope that it is the importance of self-realization and the power that we all hold. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. What is Ayurveda? So I'm going to go through some really basic concepts of Ayurveda here for those of you who may not be too familiar with Ayurveda. So I'm going to start from the very beginning and try to make it simple. Okay. Ayurveda is an ancient medical system originated in India more than 3,000 years ago. Some even say 5,000 years ago. Ayurveda was first documented in the fourth book of the Vedas titled Atharva Veda. It's known as a divine knowledge that was originally shared only through oral traditions between great sages. Ayurveda is a complete and comprehensive medical system with 8 branches of research, including internal medicine, pediatrics, psychology, ENT, surgery, toxicology, rejuvenation, and aphrodisiac therapy, which includes reproductive health in both men and women. The word Ayurveda itself translates to knowledge or science of life, and that truly is what it is. We use the entire person's mind, body, and spirit to individualize each person's treatment. The basic idea is that disease is manifested by imbalances that are within the body. Every single substance on earth is made up of a unique combination of 5 elements: air, space, fire, water, and earth. When our unique combination of these elements is altered by lifestyle choices that we make, we can become imbalanced in one area or another, which we'll elaborate more on in a few minutes. Okay. Ayurveda views menstruation as the monthly purification for women. It's a detox process for our reproductive system. I was just discussing yesterday the concept of you are what you eat and how this isn't truly completely true. We are not what we eat, but we are what we digest, absorb, and evacuate properly. It doesn't matter what you eat if you aren't doing those things properly. You can compare the uterus to the digestive system in this way. If the uterus is not intaking the nutrients that it needs, absorbing them, and then releasing them in its appropriate fashion, imbalances occur, blockages occur, and then the whole system malfunctions. Menstrual flow is a byproduct produced by what's known as rasa dhatu, or as you may be more familiar with the term plasma. Dhatus in Ayurveda is a Sanskrit word meaning the tissues within our body. All the tissues from blood tissue to bones, the muscles, every type of tissue that your body has. Our bodies are formed and nourished like building blocks. The dhatus are nourished like building blocks. It starts with the first block, taking in what it needs, and what's left over is carried on to the next block, and so on and so on. Although rasa dhatu and the menstrual flow is nourished very first in this sequence, the very last and final dhatu is the tissues of the reproductive system. If you aren't getting enough to properly nourish all of these tissues or building blocks, what's most likely going to suffer is the reproductive system. So that's why it's very common that we have so many different diseases of the reproductive system. And where does this nourishment come from? It comes from the food that we eat. And all this relates back to what I was saying earlier about we're not what we eat, but what we digest, assimilate, and evacuate. And the same goes for how our menstrual cycle works. Okay, what are doshas? If you know anything at all about Ayurveda, I'm sure you've heard use of the word doshas. There are 3 doshas that reside within the body. The 3 doshas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, are a unique combination of those 5 elements. Remember, air, space, fire, water, and earth. We measure a person's unique dosha balance as something called a prakriti, or someone's personal constitution. This constitution is what qualities you were born with. We tend to usually have a dominant dosha. And for a general example here, you could say that Vata dominant Prakritis have a very slender body frame, and Pittas have a more moderate body frame, and Kaphas tend to be heavier in frame. By knowing and understanding your dosha, you immediately have a baseline for your optimal health. This is the ultimate sweet spot your body knows and loves best. When outside factors affect this balance, that is when disease manifests. Okay. First dosha is Vata. Vata is said to be the most prominent and important function-wise of the 3 doshas. It's formed by a combination of the elements air and space. If you just imagine the concept of air and space and think about these 2 elements, you can immediately picture the fact that Vata is very light, dry, cold, lots of movement, just like the wind. Vata energy within the body is responsible for all movement within the body, from our breath to our lungs moving in and out, to our heart beating, to the flow of the blood in our body, and also the downward flow of our menstrual fluid. Pitta. Pitta is the second dosha. Now that you understand the concept, it should be easy to follow through the 3 doshas and understand their effects on the body. Pitta is a combination of fire and water. So hot is an obvious quality of Pitta. Pitta dosha is responsible for transformations within the body, like digestion or energy production. Kapha. Kapha is the 3rd dosha. Kapha dosha is formed by a combination of earth and water. When you think of earth, you think solid, heavy. Water is smooth and mobile and moving, heavy, cold, qualities like that. Kapha is responsible for any growth within the body. That includes our body frame, bones, structure, weight, adipose tissue, that sort of thing. Okay, so period symptoms per dosha. Using the simple concept of the qualities of the 3 doshas that we just covered, you can easily see from this chart which doshas cause which symptoms. Vata is known when it's out of balance or in excess to create pain. In fact, anytime you see pain within the body, Vata has a significant influence on it. The nonstop movement of Vata can also move within the mind, creating mental anguish, such as anxiety and mood swings. So pretty much anytime you're feeling a lot of thoughts going through your head, anxiety, just overthinking in general, it's definitely excess vata. Think of the movement, the rapid movement, the wind, the air, that quality is creating these thoughts. Let's see. Vata can also affect the movement of menstrual flow, and this is a really big one. Such as, for an example, the backwards flow, which can contribute and be a culprit for endometriosis. If the flow of the menstrual fluid is not going downward and in a proper motion, it's going to back up and cause buildup of the endometrial line and cause endometriosis. Even missed periods, if you're skipping periods, missed periods can also be caused from that improper movement of vata. Movement of vata is supposed to be in a downward motion. Vata in the entire body is moving in a general downward motion. And when it prevents that downward motion, then you have blockages and imbalances. So Pitta's heat can manifest into obvious hot flashes, burning sensations, irritability, and even anger. And then we have Kapha. Kapha is heavy and regulates growth. So water retention, heaviness, slow digestive issues can also be issues of Kapha. Kapha's influence on growth also means it's responsible for growths that we don't want, such as cysts, fibroids, and even the overgrowth, again, of endometriosis. And one more thing I would like to add to Pitta is Pitta can actually be a cause for excessive menstrual flow. Vata has the wrong direction, and can cause blockage of menstrual flow, and Pitta's heat can actually cause excessive menstrual flow. Somebody in here. So now that we know which doshas cause which symptoms, how do we treat them? In Ayurveda, our treatment is based off of similar and opposite qualities. Everything has its own qualities, from the foods we eat to the herbs we ingest. The key here is to identify the imbalance and treat with opposite qualities. Like increases like, and opposites decrease. For example, we know that vata is cold and light, so to reduce excess vata, we want to concentrate on things that heat up the body. And the opposite will be used to combat the heat of pitta. It needs to be cooled down. Now, this is a very generalized example. Obviously, the science is way more in-depth than that, but I would like for you to start noticing the way that your body feels each day after doing certain activities and eating certain foods. How it feels after eating spicy foods or drinking icy cold drinks. Once you take note of how your body feels during these small things, you'll start to correlate with how you need to adjust your lifestyle to fit the needs of your very own constitution and what's best for you. For me, I'm very vata dominant. Here's another example. Prior to learning about my Prakriti, one of my very bad eating habits was that I love to eat chips and crackers, which, as you know, they're crunchy, they're dry, they're light, which is also qualities that are very similar to vata. And if I'm already vata and I eat more vata foods, I'm going to be even more vata, which means I'm going to get those vata qualities and symptoms that I don't want. After learning about my constitution and realizing that these things were bad for me and that I didn't need to eat these things, I was eating completely wrong. I stopped eating them. And now, anytime that I eat chips or crackers, I immediately realize that I have issues concentrating. I feel very scatterbrained. I start to get a little anxious or just am all over the place. And that's a huge symptom of being too much vata. So just take note on how you feel after you eat different things and relate them back to these qualities and see when you're getting a reaction from certain qualities, because maybe that quality is too much or more than what you need or the opposite of what you need. Now, with all of that being said, I have to throw in a disclaimer here. If you suffer from serious conditions, please do not self-diagnose yourself and treat yourself with herbs from Dr. Google. Seek out guidance from a professional. Ayurvedic herbs can be very potent, and when the wrong combinations can cause more harm than good. And all the information here tonight should be used for educational purposes only. Okay, now the part that you've been waiting for, the treatment. Okay, so, and we're gonna consider those same qualities right here again. We have vata, and you're going to avoid gassy vegetables and beans. This, of course, gas, air, you're going to want to avoid those things because you're creating more of these dry qualities. And when you're adding more, you're going to start getting more pain in your period, more irritability, more anxiety, more mood swings. CCFT for digestion. Vata Prakriti people tend to have digestive issues, slow digestion, constipation. CCFT is really great for combating that digestive issues. Okay. The next thing is mix 1/2 teaspoon of dill seed powder, 1/4 teaspoon of ginger powder, 1/4 teaspoon of ajwain powder, 1 teaspoon of cumin powder, and 1 cup of hot water, and drink twice a day for 10 days before the cycle. Okay, and then pitta. So remember, with pitta, we are going to try and combat that heat that it produces. So, and we know aloe vera is very cooling. So 1 tablespoon of aloe vera gel with a pinch of cumin powder on an empty stomach in the morning. That will help with those burning sensations within the gut. And herbs for pitta are mix 1/2 teaspoon shatavari, 1/4 teaspoon brahmi, and 1/4 teaspoon musta in a cup of hot water twice a day for 7 to 10 days prior to your cycle. And for kapha. So kapha, we're gonna really concentrate on the bloating and like water retention, the heaviness that you feel with the kapha. Barley water is really great. CCFT again is great. You can add 1 teaspoon of ajwain into that CCFT 1 to 2 times a day. And then for herbs, we have Punarnava, Musta, and Chitrik. And those will help, the Punarnava especially will help bring those fluids out of the body. Let's see. Okay, extra support. Nausea. Some of you may be familiar with nausea as the medicated oil drops. The medicated oil drops are not typically recommended to be used while menstruating. However, warm ghee alone, rubbed inside the nasal passages, is really helpful. It will help nourish the body, promotes good sleep, and can help with relieving headaches. Abhyanga. Abhyanga is a self-massage. This is one of my favorite daily habits in Ayurveda. Who doesn't love a good massage? You can use warm sesame oil using circular movements along the joints. So you'll start here, circles, and then long downward strokes on the limbs. And remember again that vata energy moving downward. So you're really pushing out that excess vata. And let's see, again, sesame oil is really great for that. Heat up a little bit, do your massage, and let your stuff soak in for a few minutes while you're doing your other stuff in the bathroom, and then take a warm shower. Let's see. When you get to your abdomen, go in a clockwise circular motion. This will help with the direction of your digestion and will help your bowel movements, and will also help that inflammation and pain in your stomach. Oops. Let's go back here. Sorry. Okay. Castor oil packs. Castor oil packs are great for a couple of things. You take castor oil, heat it up, warm it, put it on your abdomen, and again, massage for a couple minutes. And then I like to use a towel or even just a thin piece of cotton, like an old t-shirt or something like that. Put that over your stomach and then put a heating pad over the top of it. I do that just to protect the heating pad so that it doesn't get ruined by all the oil. Leave that heating pad on there for up to 20 minutes. That will help with cramps. It's also really, really good to help detox the liver. Castor oil packs. I personally use castor oil during my abhyanga a lot of times. I'll use the sesame oil or medicated oil on my body, and then just use the castor oil on my stomach and specifically my liver area, and let that sit for a few minutes, and then take my shower just like normal. Exercise. We all know exercise is important. Movement is especially important because it encourages the blood flow towards the reproductive area, especially if you're moving those hips and getting that area worked. However, the body is working so hard during the menstrual cycle through detoxing and cleansing itself that it is not advised to exercise while you're bleeding, while you're on your cycle. This time is very sacred and an important time to rest. So skip the exercise while you're menstruating. CCFT. CCFT is, and you guys can take a screenshot of this if you would like. This is a tea that we recommend for several things, digestion being one, and also to help with menstrual cramps, just getting the flow of things. Cumin itself alone is really, really good for female health in general. So adding cumin to your foods when you cook is all really, really helpful. And how to stop cramps. Ginger. Ginger is your best friend here. Ginger is one of the most beneficial for period pain. And as it says here, it's known to be as effective as ibuprofen or other over-the-counter meds. I like to saute some fresh ginger slices in some ghee or sesame oil, just on the skillet in the morning on an empty stomach. This is especially helpful if you know that you're going to have cramps. If you know that every single month you, on your first day or your second day for a few hours, you have the same cramps every single month, and you know that you're expecting them, get ahead of it, eat the ginger beforehand, and it'll help throughout the day. Also, sipping ginger tea can really help. And of course, adding ginger to your meals. Okay. Ayurveda recognizes menstrual cycles as just another natural cycle within nature. If there's any discomfort, there is an imbalance that can be brought back to a state of balance. There is no reason to suffer just because you've been taught that it's normal. As women, we should be normalizing periods and female health at its own optimal state, not as a debilitating burden each month. As we learn to honor and understand our bodies more, we return to a state of harmony. Ayurveda brings us back in tune with all the elements of nature that are within us. Okay. And here is my contact info. If you guys would